Hey there, and happy Wednesday, and thank you so much for being with us today. I'm Ashley Ruiz, and this is Weather Out West. Starting this week, we will bring you an hour-long show each and every day showcasing what's happening weather-wise across the western U.S. Meteorologists from our sister stations in 8 regions will bring you daily weather forecasts and explain weather phenomena that's impacting people across your region. You'll find coverage from the Pacific Northwest to the Mountain West, California, and Arizona. And when severe weather hits, we'll be the first to alert you if it could impact you. So let's dive right in. It's officially July and heat continues to be a big story for some of us along the West Coast, but for many of us, the heat is going to back off at least for a little bit in the next few days. Now, elevated fire weather concerns are going to be our next topic of discussion. First, let's start in Spokane, where a red flag warning is in effect.
I'm Nicole Hernandez out in Spokane, Washington. Take a look at this beautiful look over Lake Coeur d'Alene today. I want to note the clouds in the sky right now. All of this cloud cover very different than from what we were seeing yesterday. Yesterday, the day before that, it was insanely sunny with very bright and hot temperatures. Today, we're likely still hot, but all of this cloud cover is going to be a huge relief because you'll actually find a little bit of shade here and there instead of just being beat down by the sun all day long. Today, because of the cloud cover, well, not because of it, but part of the reason we have the cloud cover is because we are having some storms start to roll their way through. Storms, not rain or anything, they're going to be dry, but it's going to bring the chance for some isolated thunderstorms. We are also going to be windy this afternoon for the same reason, but then by the 4th of July, things clear out and all that cloud cover goes away. No one wants clouds for their 4th of July fireworks, right? It ends up working very well by the time we hit Friday. In Spokane, right now, 77 degrees. This is as of 9 a.m. We did not reach below 70 degrees today here in Spokane. A lot of spots across the region were the same way, sticking above 70 degrees, which is so abnormal for this region, even in the middle of summer. Extremely warm temperatures overnight was just indicative of how hot we were yesterday and how warm we will be again today. The good news is one, we get relief from those clouds, like I mentioned. 2, we're actually about 5 degrees cooler today across the entire region. We're going to be close to 90 degrees here in Spokane. We definitely have that chance of hitting it in different spots. Coeur d'Alene has actually been going back and forth all morning long between 89 and 90 degrees. So we'll see where we end up landing. But either way, eastern Washington, North Idaho, somewhere in the high 80s, low 90s, and then more solidly into the 90s out in central Washington, but that's normal. You guys are always warmer than we are here in eastern Washington and North Idaho. So remember, I talked about it yesterday too. The thing that is bringing us the clouds and the thunderstorms and the cooler temperatures is a little bit of a low pressure system moving its way into the state that is breaking down the bridge of high pressure that was keeping us hot. The other thing that does, though, is it brings us some wind. We have wind gusts today, 30 to 40 miles per hour. The strongest winds are going to be through central Washington. You can see the purple and the red here on the map. That's going to be where those strongest winds are. So we have a lot of factors coming together here, and they all add up to increased fire danger. We've got the winds of gusts of 40 miles per hour. We're extremely dry as well. Our relative humidity, 11 to 19%. That is critically low when we're talking about fire danger. Also, we've had a couple of days of really dry, hot weather, so the fire fuels, all the brushes have really dried out and they are ready to easily burn. What does that mean for us? That means new wildfire starts are possible with that lightning coming through our region. Fires will spread quickly if they do spark, and then because of the winds, we'll have very erratic, aggressive fire behavior if we get one that will be hard for firefighters to fight. For that reason, National Weather Service has us now under a red flag warning for these regions where the winds are going to be the strongest. Yesterday, they upgraded it from just a weather watch to now that red flag warning. We also still under a weather impact alert here with CREM 2. 9 p.m. Wednesday is when that expires for the heat and the fire danger. By tomorrow, things already start to clear out and calm down. 80s by tomorrow, and then by your Friday, your 4th of July, great way to celebrate.
Thanks, Nicole. So next we're going to take you to Boise, where they experienced the hottest temperatures of the season so far yesterday, but now they're going to have to be dealing with critical fire danger risk, as well as portions of Oregon and Idaho are under the risk for some severe thunderstorms today.
Hello everybody, my name is Hector Mendoza and I am out here in Boise, Idaho, and we had some hot temperatures yesterday. Triple-digit heat settled in for the Treasure Valley yesterday. 105 was the warmest there in Mountain Home, right after just a degree shy there at 104 in Ontario. Most other spots, including Caldwell and even here in Boise, hit at 102. Places in the Magic Valley reached the upper 90s and then well into the 90s. So it was pretty hard to escape the heat yesterday. Didn't matter where you were, whether you were in the lower elevations or climbed up into the mountains to find some relief. Didn't really find much places to find that, at least for yesterday. Temperatures are expected to sort of back off just a little bit, but still very hot for today. 98 degrees is where we sit at here in Boise, and the expectation for this afternoon. The only spot here in the Treasure Valley getting into that century mark or hitting 100 degrees is expected to be out in Mountain Home for this afternoon. We're going to see temperatures into the low 90s there for Jerome and Twin Falls, and upper 80s for McCall, Stanley, and even out in Sun Valley in the Central Mountains. But taking a look at the satellite and radar picture here from the last 24 hours, pretty active day yesterday, as we did see some thunderstorms roll through portions of the Central Mountains, even coming along there into the afternoon and evening for portions of the Magic Valley. But as we take a look at what we're expecting, at least for the rest of the day today, we are going to anticipate seeing some of that really start to back off, and then we're going to see some of that really continue through the rest of this afternoon. But for some of the storms that we saw yesterday, expecting it to be much stronger for this afternoon. Everything shaded in this darker green is in a level 1 or marginal risk for some severe thunderstorms for Wednesday afternoon, and that includes places in the Treasure Valley up into the mountains, and the expectation is that we could see some thunderstorms and isolated showers coming along as we head towards the evening there for the Magic Valley. But it seems like most of the energy sticks around in southeast Oregon, and a lot of that activity has started to kind of make its way through the morning and continue through the rest of this afternoon. And for that reason, for some of that scattered lightning and gusty winds that could come along with some of those thunderstorms that do develop, a fire weather warning has been set into place for southeast Oregon there through the rest of the day today, again due to some fire critical weather conditions that we could come along as we continue on for the rest of the day today. But as we look at our future cast and look at the rest of this afternoon and heading into the evening, we are going to see that there is a chance the Treasure Valley could see some thunderstorms, or at least isolated pockets of some showers and thunderstorms roll along through the rest of the afternoon. Very short-lived. See most of that precipitation coming along there for places up into the mountains. But as we head on into tomorrow, that is when we can expect to see another round of potential thunderstorms through the rest of the Treasure Valley, and that'll continue all the way through the afternoon, heading on into the evening, and even potentially continuing into the overnight or into the morning hours of Friday. So we could see some of that continue through early Friday morning. In places up into the mountains, we're expecting those temperatures to really start to climb down. But then even here in the Twin Falls area, those conditions will stay pretty similar, getting into the mid 90s down into the upper 70s, with a chance of some storms coming along for 4th of July, before climbing back up into the upper 80s and low 90s for the beginning of the week. We're going to see that sunshine return, and then those temperatures are going to inch closer to the mid 90s as we head on into Tuesday and Wednesday. And pretty similar out here in the Boise area and in the Treasure Valley, as we'll drop down to below average temperatures there for Friday, with a chance to see some thunderstorms there for 4th of July. Upper 80s, more seasonable there for that Saturday, with lots of sunshine, more stability, and we're going to see those temperatures climb back up closer to 100 degrees as we get on into Tuesday and Wednesday of the following week.
Thanks, Hector. Coming up next and later on in the show, we are going to bring you to California. We're also going to bring you to the desert Southwest, where it's monsoon season and they're going to be dealing with some monsoonal thunderstorms. We'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us for Weather Out West. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz. Next, we're going to take you to the desert Southwest. After relentless heat, they're now going to be dealing with some monsoon thunderstorms, and several alerts are actually in place.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries. A look at your weather out west covering Arizona, and boy, oh boy, do we have some active weather moving in. We're trading off that extreme heat that we've had for the past several days for now some monsoons that will be getting active later today. So taking a look across Arizona, the first thing you should notice, yeah, we've got some rain on the horizon. Now, not all of our cities here in State 48 are going to be seeing some showers, but as these showers move on through, the biggest concern, at least for the larger cities like Phoenix and Tucson, will be all the outflow caused by those thunderstorms. So yes, dust, winds, that's a big concern. Meantime, temperature-wise, we are coming down from that brutal 116 that we started the work week at. We are looking for a high of 107 today in Phoenix, Flagstaff. Plenty of active monsoon moisture moving through with highs at 75. Safford seeing the upper 90s with, yes, some monsoon action. And of course, Yuma, well, it doesn't look like all this moisture is going to make it all the way to the western ridge of the state. As a result, we're going to keep it huddled right around the east side. So here's our monsoon meter. This is a gauge for where we expect to see the heftiest monsoon action today. And along the rim and White Mountains, so the eastern side of the state, that's where the prime focus is. Southern Arizona, northern Arizona also looking for some decent monsoon moisture. And the valley today, we're up to a 2. So we are going to see some of these monsoon storms rolling through. We're not the prime target. Our biggest concern will be the outflow wind and some spotty showers here and there. So let's map it through. On this Wednesday, we've got pretty clear skies out there this morning. Then the clouds are going to converge right about 4 o'clock. That's when it gets active. We need this moisture to mix in with the heating element of the day, and that's where we're seeing that measurable rainfall. You see the lighter green? That's basically the possibility for some shower activity to move on through. This is going to continue to push on through the region until about 9 o'clock, and then we get a little bit of a reprieve before another round will be developing overnight into the early morning hours. And that's when I think we've got our best opportunity to pick up measurable rainfall for the metro area. And then this is going to clear out nicely on Thursday, which is going to pave the way for a dry but below normal 4th of July forecast, which for Phoenix, hey, we'll take it. We don't see that often. So possible rainfall. You can see the darker blue and lighter blue. That could be up to 1.25 inches. And by our standards, in less than a day, that's sizable. As a result, National Weather Service has issued a flash flood watch for the areas you see in green. So a lot of that is southeast Arizona, and also for a little blowing dust advisory, meaning all the outflow caused from the systems that are going to target the Tucson area may cause a dust storm. And we're looking for that really in the Casa Grande area, but obviously that is awfully close to the metro, so we'll be watching it. So today, the call, hot, muggy, breezy. Daytime highs 107 degrees. Tonight, passing storms, overnight lows down to about 86, and wind, big concern for us today. You can see we're holding off on those triple digits to the noon hour. By 2 o'clock, we should be peaking. And then because of the cloud cover, we start to come down, and overnight storms definitely a possibility. So obviously that means wind is going to be all over the place. I mean, look at this wind map. We've got wind all over the place, gusting for the valley after 7 o'clock, but all day in the higher elevations as this monsoon moisture moves on through. So 7-day forecast coming your way. In Flagstaff, we've got decent coverage today, starting to taper off tomorrow, but more monsoon moisture on the horizon next week for the valley. We've got a 30% opportunity, tapering off to 20% tomorrow, and then the heat is on. Daytime highs bumping up to above 110 on Sunday.
Thanks so much, Ginger. Next, we're going to take you to Colorado, Denver specifically, where they have some 90s back in the forecast. Yesterday was the 10th day at and above 90 degrees, but they also have some storms in the forecast heading over the next couple of days.
This is Chris Bianchi with KUSA here in Denver, Colorado, and those temperatures on this Wednesday, the main story. It is toasty out there on this Wednesday with highs running close to 10 degrees above average across parts of the eastern plains. In Denver, the average high is 88 degrees, more than 5 degrees above average, but breezy out there. So kind of one of those days where it feels like being inside of a hairdryer. However, along and east of I-25, it is mostly on the dry side with those shower storms, mostly up here into the high country where it's a touch cooler, especially as you get underneath one of those rain-driven storms. Now, looking ahead to Thursday. That's going to be the stormy day of the week as we get widespread storms. Will pump up some moisture from the south and the west out of the Gulf and also out of the Pacific. And so we'll have some showers and storms around. Some of those may trickle down into the I-25 corridor, keeping, of course, an especially close eye on that as we look ahead to our Friday. But for the most part, those storms in the mountains will be for us on Thursday. Again, 1 or 2 for us in the Denver area on Friday. That 4th of July forecast, well, good news is we're not talking about widespread storms here in the Denver area and along the I-25 corridor. So you got some maybe 4th of July celebrations on the 4th. Overall, the look, not a bad one. Just a few hit or miss showers and storms. Typical stuff for this time of year across the I-25 corridor, across the Denver area, where again, summertime storms, a staple of life here, a mile high this time of year. But again, nothing overly widespread. 2 years ago, you might remember we had in the Denver area that we had some really nasty storms the 4th of July, widespread stuff. That's not going to be the case this year. Just some evening storms, 1 or 2. Most of us stay dry, so you got those outdoor plans the 4th. Keep an eye to the sky, but you're going to be mostly A-OK. Temperatures, upper 80s for us as we head over the next few days and lower 90s. So pretty, again, typical stuff for this time of year for us across Colorado and specifically in the Denver area. Temperatures within about 5 degrees of average over the next few days.
When we get hot, stagnant weather conditions like we have today, like we had yesterday, we often get air quality alerts for poor air quality, basically high levels of ground ozone. Well, it raises the question, what exactly is ozone? Ozone is actually a secondary pollutant. It is not the primary pollutant, but the secondary one. It is not directly emitted. Basically what it is, it's a chemical reaction, an interaction with the sun and more common pollutants. So basically, solar radiation and heat interact with pollution to create ozone. And we say pollution, we're talking about common pollution like car exhaust or pollution from refineries or industry or even VOCs, common pollutants you find within your home. So it's an interaction between the sun and those common pollutions. So simply put, ozone happens when the sun heats common pollutants. It causes a chemical reaction that causes ozone, and it's actually one of the main ingredients in smog.
Have you ever wanted to go to the store and get yourself a rain gauge so you can actually get accurate markings and readings of how much rain actually fell at your own house? Well, you don't have to go to the store. You can just make one right at home. I know a lot of people have Pepsi bottles and 2-liter bottles. Just get yourself a 2-liter bottle though. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut the top off of it, and then you're gonna get a piece of tape. Write the ruler numbers on the tape. Of course, you want to copy it over so it's accurate. But then once you do that, the top that you cut off, put that back into the 2-liter cup. You're going to fill it up with water till about 1 inch so it won't fall over. And then that piece of tape that you put the ruler markers on, you're going to put that in the bottle. And then once again, as it starts to rain, then of course it starts collecting the data, and now you have your own rain gauge, so you don't have to worry about going to the store and spending some money on that. Hopefully that works for you. Send me an email if you make this experiment and let me know how it goes.
I love that. And with the kids home for summer, that would be a fun little science experiment for them to really take on with their parents. Okay, coming up next, we're going to take you to California. There are several issues where they could be facing, especially looking toward the Sacramento region, increased fire weather concerns. Once again, it's fire weather season, and then even a couple of thunderstorms. We'll see you in a few minutes. Thank you so much for sticking with us for Weather Out West. If you are just joining us, we're now taking you to California, especially Sacramento to start, because increased fire weather concerns. Also, the Storm Prediction Center's highlighting portions of Northern California for a level 1 marginal risk for severe thunderstorms.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods with a look at our Northern California forecast and showcasing our many beautiful waterways, including Lake Oroville, New Melones Lake, New Bullards Bar, and Lake Berryessa, a very popular place to visit, especially this time of year with the vacation Travel time in full effect. Reservoir capacities are looking pretty good, anywhere from 75 to 95% full. This is the time of year, though, that we actually are past our peak capacity as we start to see those releases, mainly because we're in that time of year. People need the water. So our current storage is starting to go down, but still ahead of average for Lake Shasta, which happens to be our largest reservoir. Lake Oroville is the second largest in the state. That also starting to see some releases and coming down somewhat. Folsom Lake a little smaller, but it feeds the Sacramento metropolitan area. Still looking above average, where you see in this baby blue line here, we're still above average because we've had such a great water year. Those releases actually happening and resulting in some colder downstream temperatures for our rivers, running in the 50s and 60s for the most part. Regional headlines: we've got the morning fog, afternoon sun for the coast, holiday cooling for the valley. For the foothills, more clouds with the chance of storms continuing for this Sierra. Valley temperatures mid-90s to near 100 again for today. 70s up top for the Sierra, 60s along the coast. Now, today we have the chance of lightning. Yesterday we had over 6,400 lightning strikes in Northern California. We see that presence of at least a risk of thunderstorms again through the Sierra towards Yosemite and the northern part of the state. This all develops during the afternoon. Then we pick up this onshore flow. That's going to pull in some cloud cover for our Thursday and also start the cooling trend underway into our holiday for Friday. Highs will be unseasonably cool. For today, we still got that July heat, though. Highs near 80 for the Tahoe Basin, 80s and 90s, even some 100s through the foothills. Traveling our way southward, heading towards Yosemite, we're in the 90s, 80 for Sequoia and Kings National Park there. We're at 83 for Pinehurst, a little farther down the hill. 70s and 60s along the coast. We get a couple of 50s in there because of some fog sticking in near Monterey, near the Monterey Bay Peninsula. Carmel at 58 degrees. Inland areas in the 100s. As we travel towards the Bay Area forecast, morning low clouds and fog, partial afternoon clearing, a high of 64 for San Francisco. Travel inland, headed to wine country, Napa at 83 degrees. Northward, we're still looking at that fog along the coast. Eureka at 56, Redwood National Park 61. But we're in the 100s for much of the northern Sacramento Valley. In the central Sacramento Valley, northern San Joaquin Valley, 90s and 100s for today, with our regional forecast really showcasing some of that summer heat here. 95 for Sacramento, 100 for Woodland. Big agricultural land over here, Knights Landing at 100. Pleasant Grove at 100. Folsom, where we have that beautiful Folsom Reservoir, 100 for today. Ooh, that water sounds so refreshing right now. Our 5-day regional forecast, as you can see, traveling into the holiday weekend will be quite nice. 72 for the 4th of July for the mountains with less thunderstorm activity. For the foothills, we've got highs dropping into the 80s. And for the coast, highs will be in the 60s, a little breezy for our Thursday. A mix of sun and clouds, and that's largely because we have a lot of that coastal fog that will continue to develop overnight into the early morning hours. 3-day forecast, 95 for our Wednesday. We drop it into the 80s for the 4th of July. And looking ahead to the 4th of July holiday weekend, highs will be close to 90, a little cooler than average actually. And then next week, we're right back to that July heat.
Perfect over the next 10 days. And I do want to make a correction, a level 0 out of 5 for the severe thunderstorm outlook, which essentially means non-severe thunderstorms, but lightning regardless. Thank you, Monica, so much. So coming up after the break, or actually, we're going to take you to San Diego next, where they are dealing with near normal temperatures now, but above normal in just a couple of days. Check it out.
I'm meteorologist Evan Urani in sunny San Diego. We're still waiting a bit for the sun to prevail. It looks like we are holding on to clouds out along the coastline, but still not stopping many people from starting off the morning with a walk or run along our local beaches. These beaches are expected to be very, very popular as we head into your 4th of July holiday weekend. One of the busiest spots in the county, let alone the country really, Southern California, for a beautiful, sunny, upcoming 4th of July holiday. Right now, we hold on to those clouds for the next couple of hours. By the time we get to mid-morning and especially midday, we'll see that transition away from cloud cover and toward more and more sunshine. It was a gray start to the day with those overcast skies. Downtown skyline, though, looking beautiful. And you can even, if we zoom this camera in, see the Coronado Bridge leading into Coronado. As we head into the next couple hours, we'll see the sun. For the days to come, we'll see a less active marine layer, which means that not only will those clouds be a little bit less dense, but but we'll also see that cloud layer lasting less and less throughout the morning. So in some cases, we've seen it pull its way back as early as 5, 6 a.m., right around sunrise. There's a chance of that for the days to come. It's more likely that as we get into the beginning of next week, that'll be what wins out. But for now, overcast skies. Take a look at how your afternoon high temperatures are going to be affected by that. We'll be on the cooler side of average by 1 degree. This is our coolest stretch in San Diego. The past weekend, temperatures were warm. Now we're cooling down through the beginning and middle of the week. Today and tomorrow are our coolest days in San Diego for the next 7, because as we head into the upcoming weekend and beyond into next week, a ridge of high pressure builds. The trough of low pressure that brought us the cooler temperatures and cloudier skies leaves San Diego, and instead a ridge of high pressure builds in its place and allows for that warming to occur. So take a look at your forecast highs, mainly 60s and 70s out by the water. It's likely we'll all make it to about 70. In some cases, Oceanside and San Diego could make it to 73. Across our inland valleys, 80s for Escondido at 81 degrees along with El Cajon, 87 for Ramona and Campo at 88. These are spots that previously had made it into the 90s. So we've seen that cool down occur from the past weekend through about now midweek. Now take a look at the 7-day forecast, because that's really where we start to see more noticeable changes going into the next 7 days. We see that climb in temperatures that occurs from Friday especially all the way through about Tuesday of next week. Temperatures range from the upper 60s and low 70s today through Friday, all the way to that 5 to maybe near 10-degree warm-up, depending on where you're at. I mean, if we look at spots like Del Mar, for example, this afternoon, that high of 68 degrees and then possibly a high of 76 degrees, that gets us near 10 degrees of change between this afternoon and next week. When we look inland, it's a bit more notable. We go from 81 degrees today and tomorrow all the way to 90 by Tuesday. Partly cloudy skies each day. Shouldn't have any huge interference related to that cloud layer. The big question on hand is whether or not we're going to have those clouds blocking out the view of the Big Bay Boom, for example, or any firework displays. Right now, it's less than likely that we'll have any problem seeing 4th of July fireworks across San Diego County. There may be a few passing clouds to work with, but that's about as good as things are going to get in terms of visibility problems. We instead will likely see those clouds in the early morning stretch, but they really don't rebuild much in the overnight stretch, at least not strong enough to overpower any view of fireworks. So enjoy whatever plans you have. If you're along the coast, you got 70s. If you're inland, you've got 80s. The mountains and deserts start to verge into just hot territory. I mean, you see that climb in temperatures that comes after tomorrow, cooling down to 84 for tomorrow afternoon, and then all the way up to 96. That's 12 degrees of change through Tuesday of next week. The deserts have sunshine day over day. They'll get down to 105. That's the coolest point that we've been in the last about week or so, and then warming all the way right back up to 112. Dangerous heat expected across those local deserts by the beginning of next week.
105, that's cool, I guess. Okay, hopefully we can get some relief for the 4th of July holiday. Hopefully you can find a pool to cool off on or go to the coast, but still a good looking forecast. Coming up next, we're going to send you and take you to the Pacific Northwest, where temperatures are finally starting to back off. I'll tell you just how much coming up after the break. Welcome back to Weather Out West. Now we're going to take you up to the PNW, where temperatures are going to run about 10 to 15 degrees cooler versus yesterday. Starting in Seattle, a high of 87 yesterday, but now down to about 76 today.
Hi, I'm King 5 meteorologist Rich Marriott, and boy, what a beautiful stretch of weather around Puget Sound. The last couple of days have been a little on the warm to hot side. We've been in the upper 80s to near 90 degrees. We were actually expecting 3 to 5 degrees cooling yesterday, but as it turned out, Seattle was right back up to 87, the same that it had on Monday, and we only cooled a couple degrees elsewhere. So we're going to pack it all into today, and we should see anywhere from about 10 to 15 degrees of cooling today, as we're going to see that ocean air conditioning really turn on. It's pushing much cooler Pacific air in here for the next few days, which actually is just going to drop our temperatures back to normal. Great shot across the Strait of Juan de Fuca there from our Port Angeles tower cam. You normally be able to see Vancouver Island out there in the distance, but there's a little bit of light fog or haze out there that's preventing that during the morning today. And taking a look at the view there from our Everett tower cam, you can see looking out there across Possession Sound, just a few clouds out in the distance. Overall, just another pretty morning around most of western Washington. You can see there Queen Anne tower cam looking out towards the Space Needle, and see a few distant clouds. We have a little bit of marine air kind of showing up there, but we actually have the low deck there from that ocean air that's giving us a gray start in Tacoma, but the sun should be out as we head towards just a little bit later on today. Take a look at the 24-hour temperature change between yesterday at 9 a.m. and this morning at 9 a.m. See anywhere from 8 to 14 degrees cooler today than what it was yesterday. So we've definitely seen that cool air, the ocean air, make its way all the way through the interior of Puget Sound, and that'll be reflected in the cooler temperatures this afternoon. The plants, however, did notice the last couple of days that it's been sunny and warm, and they're producing pollen, especially the grasses and weeds. They're both in the high range. We have the trees as just kind of a background moderate range that kind of sits there like that through most of the summer. Take a look at that first alert 7-day forecast. You can see we kind of settle into this pattern with upper 60s to low to mid 70s. Tomorrow will be a couple degrees cooler. That'll be our coolest day of the week as we have a little upper level low pressure area that passes by through British Columbia. Once that moves by, we start to gradually warm slowly over the weekend, but should be a pretty comfortable 4th of July weekend, and then we start to heat back up again as we head into the week next week. Take a look at the satellite image. You can see the light blue, which is the marine air, kind of made its way all the way into Puget Sound this morning, and the places that do have clouds be burning back to sunshine for this afternoon, but the highs be making that big drop back down to the upper 60s and low to mid 70s. Checking the water tips if you're thinking of going to the beach today. Always cold in Puget Sound, mid to upper 50s, but we've warmed up to the upper 60s there in Lake Washington, Lake Sammamish into the low 70s. Rivers and streams still kind of chilly. There's snow melt going into them, upper 40s to upper 50s. Take a look at the forecast for this evening. For out at T-Mobile Park, another great evening, still playing the Royals. We'll look at 6:40 at that first pitch. We should see those temperatures right around 70 degrees and should stay in the 60s all the way through to the end of the game. If you're thinking about going up and doing some hiking today, the mountains are looking pretty nice. They're looking very summery, as a matter of fact, and you see a good looking day going on there at the highway passes. And Mount Rainier was the summit was out a little while ago, but it looks like we have a little bit of cloudiness kind of moving through there. It's blotted it out temporarily, but it should be back later on. Our hiking forecast, that does call for sunshine today, mixed with a few clouds. Temperatures getting to the mid 60s for the pass levels this afternoon. And taking a look at that all-important 4th of July forecast, it's looking really good, actually. Heading out about noontime to get a good spot for viewing some of those displays. Should be pretty nice by then, mid to upper 60s. It doesn't get too hot during the afternoon. We'll max out in the mid 70s, and then by the time we start to see the fireworks displays after about 9 to 10 o'clock, those temperatures should be holding mostly in the mid to upper 60s. So a good 4th of July headed our way. Today, actually a good day today for this Wednesday. We're going to be looking for temperatures upper 60s and low to mid 70s. About the same tomorrow, though a couple degrees cooler. That 4th of July forecast, which looks really good. Warming slowly over the weekend, but then as we hit the 1st of next week on through the middle part of next week, look for the high temperatures to push into the upper 70s and low to mid 80s.
That's a good looking forecast, and it's going to be the same for our friends in Portland. We're going to take you down I-5 all the way into Oregon. It's going to be nice and quiet west of the Cascades, but east of the Cascades, not so much.
Here in Portland, we are getting to dial it back just a little bit. We were 90 on Sunday, we were 94 on Monday, yesterday just short 89. Today, we may not get out of the 70s. How about that? And we can thank the marine cloud cover that's been pushing in throughout the morning. It's been neat to watch this camera develop here as the clouds come in through the mouth of the Columbia River. And for a while, we could see the silhouette of Mount Hood off in the distance. Can't now because the clouds have thickened up a little bit, and they may thicken up a little bit more as we get going through the day today. 60 last check at PDX. And the visible satellite imagery, now that we've got the light of day, kind of shows how those clouds have intruded up the mouth of the Columbia and then through all the little nooks and crannies there in the Coast Range. They're also starting to retreat a bit from the southern Oregon coast, a sign that your forecast will eventually turn mostly sunny. We've been in and out of the clouds in Lincoln City. I'll step out of the way. That's kind of a cool shot. You can see Cascade Head off in the distance there, and then the fog banks just offshore. 57 last check there. All right, future casts, as we mentioned, will have that cloud cover retreat and eventually just disappear here in the Willamette Valley. All but the north coast will probably see some clearing today. The central coast, south coast, you'll see sunshine. East of the Cascades, watch out for some thunderstorm development again today. We had prolific thunderstorm development across the central Cascades and portions of south central Oregon yesterday. Today, Futurecast pretty much nails Baker City to John Day and then south to Lakeview. Anywhere along and east of that line has an opportunity to see some thunderstorm development. Not only today, but probably tomorrow on Thursday as well. Otherwise, a nice looking change of pace in the weather that does come with a bit of a threat for increased fire concern. And I bring that up from the Dalles because at last check, The wind gusts have been upwards of about 30 to 35 miles an hour out there today. I'll step out of the way real quick. You'll see Futurecast. The East Gorge and out into the Columbia Basin, the west winds are really going to be whipping there. So like places like Arlington and Goldendale, you'll feel that west breeze on the order of 30 to 35 plus throughout the day today. So once again, an area where if something were to get going, it would be a problem. That is why we have red flag warnings for increased fire danger, not only there, but also across south central and southeastern Oregon. That today, because of the thunderstorm threat there and the potential for lightning strikes. All right, the Columbia River Gorge, warm, but not as warm. In fact, we're certainly walking down from the triple-digit heat out in the Dalles. You're maybe about 84 for a high today, mid to upper 70s, Cascade Locks near 80 in Hood River. Love that shot of the John Day fossil beds right now. We get lots of wonderful photos from our viewers. Vince Swaggerty sent that one in. That's a real gem of Eastern Oregon, which will be in the upper 80s to near 90 today. And again, as we mentioned, at least the slight chance for some afternoon thunderstorms. Great shot of Smith Rock here in Central Oregon. There is at least the outside chance of some showers in the higher terrain out towards Crook County, but I think like places like Madras and Bend will be, and Sun River will be mostly dry today and a bit cooler from where you've been, and certainly cooler at the coast. The north coast up around Astoria and then getting up towards the Long Beach Peninsula, you folks will be the last to clear during the day today. Pacific City and south towards Newport, better chance for sunshine. The southern Oregon coast should be mostly sunny today. Obviously temperatures cooler for you folks along the cool waters of the Pacific. All right, up and down the I-5 corridor here, noticeably cooler. Again, we were near 90 or in the 90s the last couple of days. Vancouver, I'm not even sure we get to 80. 79 or 80 should do it for you folks. 73 in Longview. And we'll step out of the way. The valley forecast keeps us right around 80 degrees or so from McMinnville and Salem. All right, check out this 7-day forecast. You know, we've had several 4th of Julys recently that have been hot. This one is not. This one's going to feel really, really good. Upper 70s, maybe not getting out of the 70s today. So a couple days in the 70s, we start to ratchet the heat up a little bit. And I'll step out of the way. The models are at odds at how fast the heat returns next week, but there is at least some confidence that we'll have a couple of 90-degree days starting as early as Monday or Tuesday of next week.
Looking beautiful. Thank you so much, Chris, for bringing us to Portland and showing all those lovely photos and videos as well. So coming up next, we are going to take you nationally, where our meteorologists will talk a little bit about this area of disturbed weather right now over the northeastern Gulf that is being watched by the National Hurricane Center. But either way, going to bring some heavy rain to portions of the East Coast. Thank you so much for joining us once again for Weather Out West. Now we're going to take you nationally, where our meteorologist once again is going to be talking about this area of disturbed weather currently over the northeastern Gulf that could eventually turn into something tropical. Either way, expected to bring some heavy rain to portions of Florida and potentially all the way up to the mid-Atlantic.
Hi, I'm meteorologist Alan Holt. I hope you are well this Wednesday. Starting off with the tropics, the Pacific has been very active this early hurricane season. Flossie, another hurricane, and this one's going to be moving to the west, should stay south of the Baja Peninsula and places like Cabo. There's another area with a medium chance for development south of Mexico. But again, all of that not problematic for the continental U.S. Closer to home, southeastern part of the country, there is another area with a medium chance for tropical development in the northeastern Gulf, and then off the coasts of Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas, the western Atlantic, a medium chance for tropical development here. And, you know, this is going to be in part because of a stationary boundary that's draped over that section of the country. Sometimes these can yield tropical spin-ups, and even if it doesn't spin up into anything at all, this is going to be a pretty big rain producer, especially in Florida, where some locations could pick up over a half a foot of rain through the upcoming 4th of July weekend. This is Wednesday through Sunday, the 6th of July. And you see Florida, a lot of colors on the map representing some pretty hardy rain totals over the next 5 days or so. 3-day outlook in the northwest looks pretty dry, going to be warm in places like Boise, Idaho, leading up to the 4th of July. Into the southwestern part of the country, San Diego looking gorgeous. Phoenix hot, triple digits up into the 4th of July. Texas, places like Austin, Corpus Christi could be a little bit unsettled over the next day or two, and then drying up a little bit into the 4th of July. Plenty of heat, 95 in Corpus Christi, mid-90s in Houston under partly cloudy skies over the next 3 days. The Southeast, hot, humid, highs generally in the mid to low 90s, with the exception being places like Tampa in Florida, highs in the 80s there, with an unsettled look to the forecast leading up to the 4th of July. The Mid-South, Midwest, highs low 90s or upper 80s, generally quiet weather, a high of 94 in Memphis on Friday. Upper Midwest, Great Lakes region, also pretty warm, highs into the low 90s as we head into the 4th of July, and then a little bit cooler, but very comfortable weather in New England, highs in the upper 70s on Friday. Similar to that in places like Buffalo, a little warmer in DC and Norfolk, highs in the upper 80s on the 4th of July. If you're out looking at fireworks, red colors, lithium, white colors, magnesium, blue, element of copper. Now you'll know what elements are in the fireworks you see. For In the News Weather, I'm Alan Holt.
Thanks, Alan. You can always impress someone by talking about the chemistry of fireworks. Definitely a little icebreaker there. Coming up next, I am going to bring you the latest outlook, the significant wildfire outlook for the next couple of days. Welcome back to Weather Out West. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz. So every month, the first of the month, the National Interagency Fire Center will release a monthly outlook for the significant wildfire potential. And now we have the latest update for July all the way through October. So according to them, in June, the fire activity increased across the United States, including the Great Basin, the Southwest. And so precipitation was mostly below normal out west, and though some regions like Arizona, New Mexico, they saw above average rainfall. However, the drought slightly improved in some areas but worsened in the Southwest. Now, the forecast predicts above normal temperatures through October, drier conditions in the northern west and then the plains, and wetter conditions along the Gulf and the East Coast. However, the significant fire risks are expected in the northwestern United States, California. You see even portions of Texas, and that's just for July. You see how it kind of expands more to the east heading into August. The red color you see there is above normal wildfire potential, and the white, if you don't see any red or green, that means normal. Green means below normal. Let's take you to September. You see how Texas is kind of removed from that significant wildfire potential. Meanwhile, the West Coast and then the portions of the far northern regions, including Montana, they continue under the above normal significant wildland fire potential outlook. But watch what happens as we head to October. That's typically when our fire weather concerns do start to kind of taper back a little bit, especially here in the Pacific Northwest. And then you see in California. So we have a couple of months to get through, unfortunately, with that wildfire potential. So to wrap things up, going forward for your 7-day forecast, we'll take you to Seattle first for the 7-day forecast. You see 76 today, but then over the weekend, especially on the 4th of July, looking stunning, 75 and mostly sunny. Portland, pretty similar. Nice little break from the heat, 80 degrees today, warming back up into the mid and upper 80s and lower 90s into next week. Spokane, remember that elevated fire weather concern, that red flag warning is in place, so isolated thunderstorms today, 90 degrees, cooler, thankfully, as we head into Thursday and pretty much into the holiday weekend. So looking good there, but some gusty winds expected there. Boise, around 98 today, so a nice little break after one of the hottest days of the season. Scattered thunderstorms for the 4th of July. Hopefully they wrap up before any firework activity, any festivities you may have planned there. And then pushing the triple digits almost into next week. Sacramento looking great, but remember Tahoe could be dealing with a couple of thunderstorms, elevated fire weather risk there as well. 4th of July, about 87 degrees. Our friends in sunny San Diego looking fabulous, a little above normal heading into the weekend, but still really nice. Phoenix, triple digits today, tomorrow, Friday, going to be the coolest day. And remember, the monsoonal moisture could lead to some periods of heavy rain there. And then Denver, some thunderstorms. There we go. Into the 4th of July. Hopefully those wrap up as well. We want to thank you again for joining us for Weather Out West. I'm Ashley Ruiz, and we'll see you again tomorrow.